Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's time yet again to go deep into the mock draft recesses because we are basically days away now from the NFL draft, and we are going to be covering it here live on the channel. Night one, boom. Night two, pow. It's going to be me, Joe Pisapia, Scott Bogman, Pat Fitzmaurice, D-Bro, Derek Brown, and all of our rowdy friends all night Thursday and Friday for the NFL draft. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make us your second screen experience. Actually, screw that. Make us your first screen experience, okay? Because we're way more entertaining, and we're going to break things down for you the way you want for your fantasy teams. And in the meantime, as we pass the time, we're going to do another mock draft here because, well, we are itching to put some guys on some teams. So let's kick things off here today with another three-rounder. Pat Fitzmaurice, you're on the clock for the Tennessee Titans. What do?
They take quarterback Cam Ward of Miami. The Titans are hoping he's their Steve McNair for a new era. I do think Ward has a high ceiling. It's just a matter of whether he can curb his instinct to want to be a hero on every drop back. Can he get the ball out quicker? Can he take the occasional check down, protect the football more carefully in the pocket, et cetera, et cetera? But the upside is certainly high. They need a quarterback. Cam Ward is their guy.
If he's Steve McNair, then I'm Rich Eisen, and obviously that is not true. Let's get to the Cleveland Browns at number 2. D-Bro, you're up on the clock.
I'm going to give them their long-term answer at quarterback. Everybody saw that the Cleveland Browns brought Travis Hunter out to dinner. Guess what, people? Shedeur Sanders was also at the dinner. Could equally be the destination. And I think the moves that the Giants made, bringing in Russell Wilson, screams that Shedeur Sanders is not going to be there at 3. So I'm sending Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado, to the Cleveland Browns, and they get a quarterback that they can believe in long-term.
Also at that dinner, Scott Bogman, who is now on the clock here for the New York Giants with the 3rd pick.
I'm just at everybody's dinner. I'm a big.
I love dinner.
So.
Are you a breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner guy, Box? Like everyone's got their favorite. You're a dinner guy,
for sure.
Yeah. You strike me as a dinner.
Also, what do you want for dessert? I want more dinner. That's what.
There you go. No, actually, I want dessert.
But at number 3, this is a tough call for the Giants between Abdul Carter, who I think is probably the best player in this draft, or Travis Hunter, who is right there next to him. But I think Travis Hunter fits the needs for this Giants team a little bit better. That defensive line has already been built up. The trade for Brian Burns last season is very strong. So if they get Travis Hunter, they get a wide receiver for immediate impact on offense and someone to replace either, Banks or Cordell Flott in that secondary, which is a huge need for them as well. So I think Travis Hunter just makes too much sense for the Giants here.
All right, that means at 4, Patty Cakes, the Patriots are on the clock, and my boy Abdul Carter's still there.
Yeah, Joey P, I'm going to let you grade this pick for me since you are a Patriots fan. I'm going to take Abdul Carter, edge, Penn State. When one of the two surefire superstars falls to you in the draft at number 4, you have to take him.
I graded an A+. I love this pick. I hope this happens. If it does, I'm going to be a very happy boy during the draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they're not too happy. They're picking 5. The Jaguars take who, D-Bro?
I'm just going to go with the chalk pick, the right pick that's been here for him. Defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan. Jaguars had to really make some upgrades for their rush defense, and I think starting with Mason Graham here at the top is a great start to doing that.
All right, the Raiders have their quarterback, at least of the present, so what do the Raiders do at 6, Box?
I'm going to give him Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State, and they were dead last in 2024 in rushing yards, 1,357. There were 5 players with more rushing yards than that last season than the Raiders had as a team. That is pathetic. I think Pete Carroll understands that if you're going to have Geno Smith leading the helm, you need a strong running game like they had in Seattle. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet were there. So I just think that he changes the entire look of this offense immediately and is the best player on the board as well. So I think it's a pretty simple pick for the Raiders if I'm the GM.
That puts the Jets and Pat Fitzmaurice up for 7.
The Jets select Armand Membu, offensive tackle, Missouri. The Jets have a need at right tackle. Membu played right tackle throughout his college career and excelled there. He posted a relative athletic score of 9.9 on a 10-point scale. The Jets add Membu to what could be one of the better offensive lines in the league.
D-Bro at 8, the Carolina Panthers certainly need some help on defense. Where do they start?
Well, there's nowhere to go but up, Joey. as far as pressure rate for the Carolina Panthers last year. When you were last in the NFL, you got to make some changes and you got to add some pass rushers. I'm going to give him Jalen Walker, a linebacker out of Georgia.
Nice pick for them. New Orleans at 9, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, Will Campbell's kind of become my default pick for the Saints at 9 here, and Genty is off the board. They need to go BPA because they have needs everywhere, and it was Fuaga and Penning last season that were well below average. We'll be nice and say that. I think Campbell gives him an immediate upgrade, helps the run game, helps protect the passer as well. Ancient Derek Carr. So let's go ahead and give them the tackle out of LSU.
All right, Pat, you're up with the Chicago Bears at 10.
Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle, Texas. Ashton Genty, not an option for the Bears. With him off the board, the Bears could go with an edge here. They could go with a cornerback to replace Mr. Hail Mary, Tyreek Stevenson, but instead they're going to continue to fortify their offensive line. Banks was the 3-year starter at left tackle for Texas, and the Longhorns became a national power while Banks was holding down the fort on the left side of the line. He can compete with Braxton Jones at left tackle. Maybe he moves inside the guard at some point, but the Bears now have a deep and talented offensive line.
D-Bro, what do the 49ers do at 11? They go on the offensive side or the defensive side?
I love Tyreek Stevenson catching strays here from a Packers fan. I absolutely love it, man. Just got to throw that out there before.
That's all right. He wasn't paying attention.
Position.
Anyway. See what I did there? See what I did there? I'll see myself out. Thank you very much.
That was glorious, man. But staying with the corner talk, I'm going to get the San Francisco 49ers a starting corner opposite Renardo Green, cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. Come on down, baby. Let's go.
Scott Bogman, how about them Cowboys at 12?
Let's go Ted McMillan, the wide receiver out of U of A. Fear not, CeeDee Lamb stands. This addition helps. Think Jefferson Addison, Chase Higgins, right? They didn't make almost no moves in free agency, so the offensive line is going to be, it's not going to be fixed in this draft, and they need playmakers. So I think adding Ted McMillan rolls coverage towards him a little bit, gets CeeDee Lamb a couple more one-on-ones, really opens up the whole offense. And if he's only getting one Mississippi back there, Dak, let's throw the ball up to a guy with a gigantic catch radius like Ted McMillan.
Speaking of Mississippi, the Dolphins could use some more of those at 13. Pat, they start with the offensive line?
Yeah, they do, Joe. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Maybe this is a little early for Simmons, who's an excellent tackle prospect, but coming off a patellar injury. So Miami's going to have to be comfortable with the medicals here. But look, the Dolphins are desperate for O-line help. It was their biggest need even before left tackle Teron Armstead announced his retirement earlier this month. Miami has to get an offensive tackle with its first pick.
D-Bro, the Colts can go a lot of ways at 14. Which way did they go today?
I'm going to give them Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. This not only addresses giving whoever the quarterback is another talented pass catcher, but he's going to improve the run blocking department as well.
Okay, that brings us back to Bogman at 15 for the Atlanta Falcons.
Let's go Jedi Barron, the cornerback out of Texas. The Falcons gave up the second most passing touchdowns behind only Carolina last season. Why not add the Thorpe Award winner to help plug that gap? D. Alford struggled a bit at the nickel. I think that's probably where they would have Barron play immediately.
Pat, that puts the Arizona Cardinals and you on the clock at 16.
Oh, we're going to take Mykel Williams, edge, Georgia. They could use a pass rusher. He looks like he came from an edge rusher factory. 6'5", 267 pounds, long arms, a lot of power, and still only 20 years old. Ton of upside here with Mykel Williams.
Okay, that puts the Bengals at 17 up next and Derek Brown.
If we're talking about upside conversations, baby, I'm going to give them a talented pass rusher. Maybe the box scores and things did not, match the athletic testing, but if he hits his ceiling, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be very, very glad they drafted Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M.
The Seattle Seahawks are up next at 18. Scott Bogman, that pick belongs to you.
Let's go back to the right college for this pick. Matthew Golden out of the University of Texas for the Seattle Seahawks. Tough call between an interior offensive line here for them because they do need help there. Booker and Zabel are still on the table here. This team needs another outside presence. They've only added for the outside MVS, Craycraft, Steven Sims. So they need some depth here at this position. I love Jake Bobo. But Golden gives this wide receiver core a legit deep threat on the perimeter and a home run hitter. So let's go with Matthew Golden out of Texas.
That's a good spot for his fantasy value, too, potentially. I like that a lot. Let's get to 19 here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Pat Fitzmaurice.
The Buccaneers are going to take Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama. This might be one of the 10 best pure football players in the draft. But Campbell doesn't really play a premium position. Still, Campbell is just what the Bucs need. Levante David is 35. Anthony Walker Jr. turns 30 in August. The Bucs need a young, athletic linebacker.
All right. Speaking of young and athletic, Derek Brown, you're up next. Denver Broncos at 20.
Denver needs to focus. Then a lot of their offseason moves have focused on improving an already good defense. We're going to the offensive side, baby. And I know this has been the popular pick. I think it's the right pick. Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina.
Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's wrong. And you know what else is popular this time of year? Basketball. That's right. If you're a basketball fan, all the thrills and playoff drama, well, it's just around the corner. And if you're done sitting on the sideline, you're ready to win some real cash, check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, including prize picks. So when you hit all of your picks, you'll score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6 than flex plays on prize picks. And best of all, you'll win even more cash if you outscore the competition. So basketball playoffs are here. Cash in with Pick 6 from DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use that promo code FANTASYPROS. That's code FANTASYPROS for new customers. You pay $5, you get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. And I can't believe we're getting Scott Bogman actually make this pick for the Steelers.
I'm going to go with the interior defensive lineman, Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. The Steelers not only lost Larry Ogunjobi, who is a big part of the interior defensive line rotation, but Cam Hayward is 1 million years old. I think he can play till he's 65, but I don't know if the Steelers think that, right? So it's the biggest non-quarterback need for this team, and I don't know if there's a quarterback here that they like, so let's go with the defensive line help for my Steelers.
Pat, that puts the Chargers and you up at 22.
They're going to take Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, a perfect fit. The Chargers need a tight end. Loveland is a terrific young TE prospect, and he played for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan.
Oh, 2 tight ends in the first round. Love it. At 23, the Green Bay Packers up. D-Bro, you're on the clock.
I don't know how Patty's going to feel about this one. The Green Bay Packers going with another fast corner. Hopefully this one works out better than Eric Stokes did. I'm going to give him cornerback Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. Jair Alexander's future with this team is still up in the air, and there's a big need on this roster at corner.
All right, what is the need for the Minnesota Vikings at 24, Boggs?
Safety, and Malachi Starks is still on the board, and I think this is a realistic fall for him. I think he could get picked in the top 15. I wouldn't be shocked, but the NFL doesn't view safety as a very important position here, and Cam Bynum's off to the Colts. This team had 3 safeties, right around 700 snaps last season. A lot of 3 safety sets from this squad. So Malachi Starks can start it free and then move to strong when Harrison Smith eventually retires, probably pretty soon.
Okay. Next up here, we have Pat with the Houston Texans up.
Offensive tackle Josh Connerly of Oregon. Houston's offensive line was just a disaster last season. They have to address it with their first pick, ideally with someone who can play tackle. Connerly is the best tackle still on the board.
At 26, the Rams are up next. Derek Brown, you're up.
Well, with Connerly getting sniped right before the Rams and Josh Simmons going off the board early, I think tackle is definitely a need here. I'm going to actually pivot, and I'm going to give the Rams their quarterback of the future, because we don't know that Stafford supposedly signing his extension and stuff. That still has not actually happened. We don't know how many more years he has left in the tank. I'm going to give the Los Angeles Rams Jaxson Dart out of Ole Miss. Let him sit for a year, learn behind Stafford and from Sean McVay, and ready to take over whenever Stafford's ready to hang him up.
D-Bro, here's the box, and here's you. Right outside of it. Just outside every time.
I'm fine.
All right, let's go to the Baltimore Ravens for their annual BPA pick at 27, Scott Bogman.
I think James Pierce Jr. is the best player on the board here. He's the edge rusher out of Tennessee. This team was second in sacks last season, but they're getting a lot from the interior. Matabikwe at 11. So I just think, Van Noy is 34. Owe was really good. I think he had 11 sacks last season as well, but there's not a lot of depth behind them. So I just think a standard Ravens pick of sit where you are, take the best player on the board, and improve, and it obviously works.
Back to you, Pat, at 28 for the Detroit Lions.
Oh, man, the Lions are running this pick up to the podium. Mike Green, edge of Marshall. I think they'd be thrilled to get Green this late in the round. He's going to land somewhere in the middle of the round, most likely. Green had 17 sacks for Marshall last year and just crushed it in the pre-draft process, especially with the big week at the Senior Bowl. The Lions have Aiden Hutchinson coming off a major knee injury. Marcus Davenport isn't the guy he used to be. Lions could really use a young edge rusher, and they get a good one here with Green.
Debro, you're not the guy you used to be, but we'll let you pick anyway. Washington at 29. What do they do?
Losing Jeremy Chin hurt in the offseason, but I'm going to make it smart just a little bit less. I'm giving him safety Nick Emenwari out of South Carolina.
The Buffalo Bills at 30. Scott Bogman, back to you.
Yeah, Kenneth Grant, I debated on putting on my Steelers. I think he's a great interior defensive line prospect, but they need somebody behind Oliver. Ogunjobi, they tried to sign, but he's going to be suspended for the first 6 games. They didn't know about that. This team graded 26 in run D on PFF last season. They need some help there. So let's go with a Feldman freak and get Kenneth Grant to the Bills.
That's a sneaky good one there. Kansas City at 31. Pat Fitzmaurice.
Oh, they're going to take Gray Zabel, offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Not a real sexy pick, but the Chiefs could stand to bolster their offensive line. And Zabel is the best Swiss Army knife lineman in the draft. He played left tackle in college, but can play really any position on the offensive line.
Sounds like a character from White Lotus. The Philadelphia Eagles at 32. Debro, close us out.
It's another one of those that's going to go down as how did Howie do it type of picks. I'm going to give them talented edge Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. Look, Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari are only on 1-year deals. Losing Josh Sweat wasn't great. Consider you need a long-term answer at the edge position. I'm going to give it to him.
Round 1 is done. Round 2 begins. Pat Fitzmaurice, 33, Cleveland Browns.
Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. The Browns keep Egbuka in Ohio. Cleveland needs a slot receiver better than David Bell. Egbuka's a real high floor prospect who's a good route runner and pretty good after the catch, too.
That was like a mic drop moment there. 34, the New York Giants, Derek Brown.
Well, I know everybody still loves Tyrone Tracy so much, but I think the fumbling stuff was an issue last year. The Giants, if they're going to go with this iteration of how they're building their team, they sidestep quarterback at number 3 overall. They're all in with Jameis and Russell. They need a back that can handle volume and keep the ball tucked in nicely right next to his chest. I'm going to give them my RB2 in this class, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa.
I like this. I like that a lot. Tracy was pretty good, but I think Caleb Johnson, far superior prospect there. All of a sudden there, Giants starting to turn things around a little bit. Tennessee is up next. Scott Bogman, what are you giving them at 35?
Yeah, if we're giving them Cam Ward, let's give them a target. Right now, it's only Calvin Ridley and a ghost town there. It's Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson. So I think adding Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri, had a little bit of a down 2024, but put on the 2023 film, and you will be very, very impressed. A great prospect that is slipping because of this season where he's banged up. I think they get a value at 35 here for Luther Burden.
That brings up pick 36 in the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that means you, Pat.
We'll give Jacksonville Savone Revel. I think I pronounced that correctly. Cornerback, East Carolina. We gave the Jags Mason Graham in the first round to bolster the D-line. Now we give them a quality cornerback prospect to bolster the secondary.
The Raiders at 37, Derek Brown.
Speaking of bad secondaries that need help, the Raiders have one. When you're walking into possibly week 1, at least as it stands right now, with a starting secondary that features Ja'Corian Bennett, Darnay Holmes, and Kamarion Richardson, that's not a
They're fine.
That's a real NFL player.
Are you sure that's not one of the Key and Peele guys? I'm pretty sure it is.
Unfortunately not. That's a real player, and the Raiders are looking at starting him right now. I'm giving them corner Trey Amos out of Ole Miss.
Okay, that brings the Patriots up at 38. Scott Bogman, let's go.
Yeah, we already fixed one side of the line, right? Abdul Carter with that pick at number 4. Let's give them Ariante Ursary, the big monster offensive tackle out of Minnesota, on in the second round here, pick 38. It's Vidarian Lowe and Morgan Moses, who they signed. They both graded well below average last season. There needs to be a changing of the guard at tackle for the Patriots, and Ursary will give that to them.
Okay, I'm in for it. I like it. Here we go. I got a tackle, Got the best linebacker in the draft. Very happy. 39, Chicago Bears. Again, Pat, that's you.
Chicago selects Quinshon Judkins, running back, Ohio State. The Bears
Ooh.
missed out on Ashton Genty in the first round, so they get their new early down back in the second round. Now Ben Johnson can roll out the 1-2 punch of Quinshon and DeAndre Swift.
Yes, and now we can trade DeAndre Swift on day 2, because I'm sure that's going to happen if this happens. 40, the New Orleans Saints, Derek Brown.
They continue to fortify the trenches here. Brian Brisset has not worked out to this point. I'm giving him D-tackle Derek Harmon out of Oregon.
Back to the Bears again at 41, but this time Scott Bogman, you make the pick.
Yeah, I'm going to give them Tyleik Williams. We've already helped the offense with Banks and Quinshon Judkins. Let's give them a run-stuffing defender to help a defense that gave up 2,317 rushing yards last season, good enough to be 28th in the league. I think Tyleik comes in and helps plug that hole immediately.
And remember, if you are working on getting ready for your Dynasty rookie drafts, well, we've got something for you. The Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator. It is available right now and lets you complete a mock draft in just minutes. No waiting in between picks. Customize your league settings to match your league's exact format. And premium subscribers to Fantasy Pros Tools can test trade scenarios by mocking with their traded draft picks. So prepare for rookie drafts and Dynasty startup drafts the right way in one place with the Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator to dominate all of your drafts coming up at fantasypros.com/simulator. That's the place to find it. Let's see what we can find here for the Jets at 42.
How about a safety, Joe? Xavier Watts, safety, Notre Dame. The Jets kind of need a safety, and safety is not a deep position in this draft. They get one while the getting's good.
All right, the getting's good there. Let's get to the San Francisco 49ers at 43. D-Bro, what's good for them?
This might not be the sexiest pick, but it's a necessary pick. They need to improve their trench play. They'll give them the corner in the round 1. We are going to go to the offensive line here. Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. Give Dominic Pooney a long-time running mate to keep the interior pressure away from Brock Purdy.
That puts the Cowboys up at 44, and back to you, Boggs.
I'm going to give them Nick Skouritz the edge out of Texas A&M. Obviously Parsons is amazing, but after that it's Sam Williams, Dante Fowler. Nealon is coming off the knee surgery, so just not a lot of depth at the edge position for the Cowboys. So I will give them Nick Skouritz.
The Indianapolis Colts at 45, Pat Fitzmaurice.
The Colts take Donovan Jaxson, offensive lineman, Ohio State. He was a 3-year starter for one of the best programs in the country. Jaxson could play either tackle or guard. He helps the Colts refurbish their offensive line.
All right, what helps the Falcons at 46, D-Bro?
Speaking of a team that can't go anywhere but up with pressure rate, talked about how bad the Panthers were last year. Well, the Falcons were nearly as bad. 8th lowest pressure rate. They need help on the pass rush. Let's give them Landon Jackson, edge out of Arkansas.
What shall we give the Cardinals at 47, Boggs?
Yeah, let's give them the corner out of Iowa State, Darian Porter. Murphy Bunning and Melton on the outside, both graded in the 90s out of 116 graded corners last season in PFF. Williams as a slot is one of the best in the league, but they need an upgrade in that secondary pretty bad. So I think this would be a good pick for them.
The unofficial GM of the Dolphins is back again, Pat Fitzmaurice, once again for Miami at 48 this time.
We're going to take Benjamin Morrison, a cornerback from Notre Dame. I'm not sure if Dolphins fans are going to love this draft, Joe, because we're taking a lot of medical risks here with the lineman coming off a patellar injury. Now they get a really good cover man who might be a first-round talent, but Morrison has some injury concerns. He's had 2 hip surgeries in the last 4 years.
All right, let's see what's up next for the Bengals at 49, Derek.
Well, you're going to add all these pieces to the offensive side of the ball. Joe Burrow can't do anything if he doesn't have time in the pocket. We need to address the offensive line here. Let's give Marcus Bowe, guard out of Purdue, Cordell Volson, and Cody Ford. That is not what you want starting on the offensive line in week 1 to guard.
Number 50, the Seahawks, Scott Bogman.
I'm going to give them Azariah Thomas, a cornerback out of Florida State. Woolen and Witherspoon are great, but Job was the weak link last season. He needs to be replaced. I think Azariah Thomas comes in and is a plug-and-play starter immediately for this defense.
Back to you, Pat, for Denver at 51.
Alec Iamaner, wide receiver, Stanford. The Broncos need skill position help. They got their running back in the first round. Now they get a receiver. Debro knows how much I like Iamaner. Just a physical possession receiver who lit up Colorado for 294 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2023. And yes, a lot of that damage came when he was matched up one-on-one against Travis Hunter.
Debro, what do you like for Seattle at 52?
Let's go to the offensive line, man. Jonas Savania, offensive guard out of Arizona. We talked about how bad this offensive line. I don't want Sam Darnold seeing ghosts in 2025, and interior pressure can do that to poor Sammy Darnold. So let's give him some help.
Okay, let's help out Tampa at 53, Boggs.
Yeah, let's give him a pass rusher. Princely Uman Mieland out of Ole Miss here. I love the addition of Jahad Campbell, who can play middle, but also can rush the passer. They added Hassan Reddick. This was really kind of an issue for them last season. The interior has been great. Cansey, Vea, Logan Hall, Gostis is in there. I think that's a really, really good, rotation on the interior. But the exterior has been Yaya Diaby and nobody recently. So add Hassan Reddick and get Uman Mielen here, I think would really, really help the Bucks pass rush.
All right, Pat, you finally get to make a selection for your Packers at 54.
Yeah, I wanted Debro to take Derek Harmon in the first round, but he whiffed and reached on a cornerback. So I'm going to take Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle from Toledo. They get a disruptive, high upside DT to play alongside Kenny Clark.
Shots fired. Debro, 55, the Chargers.
I'm just following suit what the Packers usually do at corners, Pat. Don't blame me. Blame their front office. It's not my fault.
A lot of blame to go around.
All right, for the Chargers, I'm going to give Najee Harris the lightning to Najee's thunder. Travion Henderson, running back out of Ohio State, excuse me.
Yeah, there's too many metaphors there for the Chargers already. Let's go to Buffalo here at 56, Boggs.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a guy that I think that might even be rookie proof for McDermott, who is notoriously tough on rookies. Let's go with Jack Sawyer, the defensive end out of Ohio State, a motor guy, a leadership guy. The edge for Buffalo is pretty good. They added Joey Bosa, they added Michael Hoyt, but Hoyt is obviously going to be suspended for a little bit. AJ Epinesa, but I just think he is one of the best players on the board. He is almost McDermott proof with that motor and leadership ability. So let's see a rookie actually on the field for the Bills.
They've lost a lot of veteran leadership on that defense over the years. 57, the Carolina Panthers are up next, Pat.
They're going to take Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver from Iowa State. The Panthers have to get Bryce Young more pass-catching help, especially on the outside. I don't know if Xavier Legette is going to pan out, so let's get Bryce another big target on the outside.
At 58, the Houston Texans, Debro.
Let's give him defensive tackle Alfred Collins out of Texas. Sheldon Rankins, how much do you have left in the tank? Even if we're going to sit here and have faith in that, they need an upgrade over Tim Settle at D-tackle.
Okay, so back to the Baltimore Ravens, Scott Bogman.
Let's help this offensive line again. Tate Ratledge just sitting here, a great pick, a guy with a high motor, a couple injuries, but was projected to be a first rounder before the season started. I think this just helps Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and that whole run game. I think I really, really hate that they just sit and take the best player every time.
Well, that's what they do every year. Also with a high motor, Pat Fitzmaurice at 60 here for the Detroit Lions.
Let's go with Shamar Turner, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M. The Lions have a really good pair of defensive tackles with Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader, but there's not much behind those two. Shamar Turner gives Detroit some depth at defensive tackle.
Debro, where do the Commanders go at 61?
Bobby Wagner is back on this roster, but only under a one-year deal. He can't play forever. Let's give them linebacker Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA.
Okay, next up, the Buffalo Bills again at 62, Boggs.
Yeah, I mean, we got the defensive help on the line, Kenneth Grant and Jack Sawyer. Let's go with Wyatt Milam, the interior offensive lineman, most likely from West Virginia, played tackle at West Virginia. Will probably need to transition to guard. But luckily, I know a guy that lets those rookies sit and learn in Sean McDermott. So I think it's a nice fit here for Buffalo. And if you want to keep playing deep in the playoffs, you got to keep Josh Allen on his feet.
Pat, what's a good fit for the Chiefs at 63?
Oh, how about Mason Taylor, tight end LSU, reputable draft analysts like Daniel Jeremiah, Dane Brugler. They say Taylor is a top 40 prospect in this draft. Travis Kelce is nearing the end. Mason Taylor is a potential Kelce replacement.
The unreputable Derek Brown is up next at 64 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm just going to keep doing what the Eagles usually do. They're looking ahead. It's always not only what needs do we have this year, but what are we going to have in the future? And I'm going to address one of those needs. Dallas Goedert is a free agent after this year. He could be traded. We shall see. But even if he stays on this roster, I'm giving him the long-term answer at tight end with Elijah Arroyo out of Miami.
All right, that does it for round 2. On to round 3. Before we get there, don't forget about our Discord. Join the Fantasy Pros Discord community today. Chat with other fans. Get access to exclusive AMAs that wind up on our podcast feed. You've also got Worm and Fitz, 5 Eastern, I believe, every first Tuesday of the month, and Fitz and Bogman, 5 Eastern every Tuesday in April. Come get your questions answered. Be on the shows at fantasypros.com/chat. Join our Discord community today. Round 3, here we go, boys. Buckle in. 65, the Giants, Pat Fitzmaurice.
They are going to take Jalen Milroe, quarterback from Alabama. The Giants didn't get a chance to draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders in the first round, but this is a pretty nice outcome for them. They wait until the third round and get the toolsy Milroe, great runner, needs some work as a passer, but he's got a rocket arm, and there is no pressure at all on Milroe to contribute in year 1 since the Giants already have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. They have a full season of development time for Jalen Milroe.
What a fascinating quarterback room that becomes. It's 66, the Kansas City Chiefs, Derek Brown.
I just don't think we're going to run it back with the collection of Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell. Are any of these guys going to be effective? Can any of them stay healthy? What does Kareem Hunt have left in the tank? Kansas City addressing the running back room here, not in the first round like in previous years, but in the third round with a similarly talented running back, Bashal Tootin, running back out of Virginia Tech.
I agree. Pacheco's kind of a fade for me going into this year, which hurts my soul because I like the kid, but I think you might be right on this one. 67, the Cleveland Browns, Boggs, what are they going to be right about?
Yeah, I mean, we've helped the offense already. Shedeur Sanders and Emeka Egbuka, obviously, big improvements to this Cleveland offense. Let's go on the defensive side here. JT Tuimoloau going to play on the opposite side of Myles Garrett because they really don't have an answer right now. It's Alex Wright, it's Isaiah McGuire, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who'd never worked in Tampa. So I just think getting another presence on the line on the other side of Myles Garrett is a top priority for the Browns.
Pat, that puts the Vegas Raiders up at 68.
They're going to take Jacob Parrish, cornerback, Kansas State. Debro already waxed eloquent about the sorry state of the Las Vegas secondary. Vegas is going to keep adding to it. Parrish is a top 10 cornerback prospect.
Speaking of wax, Derek Brown, that's you, 69. New England Patriots are up.
All right, Joey. I think you're going to like, not just like this one. I think you're going to love this one. They got Abdul Carter. We addressed the offensive line. Yes. It's time to give Drake Maye a pass game weapon, baby. Let's give him one of my favorite wide receivers of this class. My wide receiver 4 in my rankings right now, Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State.
Best Patriots draft we've had in years. Can we copy and paste this, please? Let's do this. God, I hope they don't trade out of picks. All right, next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 70, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, we've addressed some defensive issues for the Jaguars here with Mason Graham and Ravel. So let's go with the center from Georgia, Jared Wilson. They did sign Robert Hainsey, but Hainsey's been banged up. Fortner was bad last season. I think Wilson is the eventual replacement for Hainsey at the center position for Jacksonville.
Pat, that puts you back at 71 for the Saints.
Jack Besh, wide receiver, TCU. What a draft the Saints are having. Will Campbell falls to them at 9 overall. They get Derek Harmon in the second round. Now they fill a need at wide receiver in the third with Lafayette, Louisiana native Jack Besh, an ultra-competitive guy who crushed it in the pre-draft process. I love this fit.
Okay, 72. Debro, that's back to the Chicago Bears.
Speaking of fits to love, I love that pick by Fitzy. Heading over to Chicago, it's got to be the safety position, man. Jaquan Brisker, free agent after 2025. He's limited concussions. What do we get out of him this season?
Didn't play after week 5 last year.
Yeah, man. There's a lot. So I'm going to give him Bogman. This is for you, baby. Andrew Makuba, safety out of Texas.
More right. Texas players.
Boggs, back to you for the Jets at 73.
Well, Debro just gave me a compliment, took one of my favorite players. Why don't I go ahead and take one of his favorite players? Let's go with Trey Harris. So much love. Trey Harris, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss to the New York Jets. We addressed the O-line with Membu. We got Xavier Watts in the secondary. I mean, they need wide receiver help right now. Outside of Garrett Wilson, it's Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Malachi Corley, who didn't work last year. Not that he can't, but he didn't. So I just think Trey Harris gives Justin Fields an immediate deep target and can take advantage of some of those nice rainbow passes that Fields has downfield.
At 74, Carolina Panthers. Pat, what do you select?
Boggs liked the safety picks from Texas. Let's see if he likes a safety pick from his second favorite team, the Oklahoma Sooners. Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman, safety, Oklahoma. The Panthers could use some competition at free safety. Bowman's a feisty guy with a high football IQ.
Debro, what can the 49ers use all the way at 75?
Trench help. We're going back to the trenches. TJ Sanders, D tackle out of South Carolina. They have to improve in the trenches in this draft.
76, the Dallas Cowboys. That's yours, Scott Bogman.
Let's give him the running back. Everybody wants to see it. Cam Scattaboo from Arizona State, a guy that can take a ton of carries. And by the way, if you have a bad offensive line, let's get a guy that can shake a couple tackles as well and keep the pile moving forward. I just think this is a perfect fit. They had Tet McMillan, Nick Scourton, and Cam Scattaboo. I like this draft for the Cowboys. Hopefully Cowboy fans do.
I'm sure they'll like it more than whatever the Cowboys actually do, because there's no way they're going to get this much right. Back to the Patriots at 77, Pat.
They're going to take offensive tackle Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College.
Okay.
We are continuing to protect Drake Maye, and we are getting him huge offensive linemen. First, it was Ariante Ursary in the second round. Now we're volume drafting for their O-line with Trapillo, a 6'8" tackle from right in their own backyard at BC.
Love it. Love it. This is the best draft ever. Arizona at 78, Debro.
The addition of Calais Campbell is not going to push the Cardinals off, still addressing pass rush help. Let's give him Femi Oladejo, edge out of UCLA. Cardinals got to get after the pass, after the quarterback better this year.
79, the Houston Texans. Boggs, what do they have to get after?
Yeah, I mean, we fixed the offensive line partially with Connerly. Alfred Collins helps on the defensive line. So let's give him a target. I mean, Tank Dell went down. I'm not really a buyer on Christian Kirk. Let's give them wide receiver Jalen Royals out of Utah State. I think just adds a deep presence for them. CJ Stroud needs more targets for real. I mean, Mechie didn't work out. I don't know. They added Justin Watson and Braxton Berrios, probably more special teams ads than anything. So let's get him a decent pass catcher here.
All right, Pat, back to you for the Colts at 80.
They're going to take Demetrius Knight, linebacker, South Carolina. The Colts address a need at linebacker with a fast, physical prospect. The only knock on him, and maybe why he's available in the third round, is Knight's 25. So he's kind of an overaged prospect.
Speaking of overage prospects, Derek Brown, you're at 81. Cincinnati Bengals, you're up.
I knew.
I mean, Pat just keeps setting me up for all.
I
this.
knew.
So
I knew you were going to use that as a transition. I was like,
old,
yeah, it's coming.
broken down.
It's,
I could go on, but there's not enough time.
Isn't Debro the youngest guy on this panel right now?
Yeah,
actually,
let's throw that out there. Yeah.
You're welcome, Debro. I got you.
Thanks, Bogman. I appreciate it. I needed the help, buddy. Speaking of helping out, I'm going to go right back to Texas, and I'm going to help out Joe Burrow. Again, good things happen when you give Joe Burrow clean pockets to throw from. Let's give him Cameron Williams, offensive tackle out of Texas.
Good. Good things happen when Scott Bogman makes picks for the Seattle Seahawks at 82.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Golden, Azariah Thomas, Jonas Savaina. Let's go with Omar Norman Lott, the big interior defensive lineman out of Tennessee. I love the starters here with Jaron Reed and Byron Murphy, but they don't have a lot behind them. Cameron Young, Brandon Peely. So I think getting a big man, a space eater to help those defensive ends, the addition of DeMarcus Lawrence here would really help Seattle's defense out.
Pat, 83, the Pittsburgh Steelers select.
Ooh, a lot of pressure drafting for Scott Bogman's team. I'm going to take DJ Giddens, the running back from Kansas State. The Steelers need to add a running back after losing Najee Harris, preferably one who can play on early downs since they've got a couple of passing down backs with Jalen Warren and now Kenneth Gainwell. I think Giddens is one of the more underrated backs in this class.
So, Fitzy, you took a while to make this pick last night, and this I almost just did it for you. And then when you took Giddens,
this is a wonderful
I was like,
pick.
that's insane. That was the selection.
Mind meld,
about
Boggs.
Giddens.
We've been doing shows so long together, we have a mind meld.
That's the problem. We need the real draft here ASAP. 84, that puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the clock with Derek Brown.
Well, for the Bucs, we've addressed the defensive side of the ball. Let's go back to the offense and address what is not a need right now, but will be after this upcoming season. Cade Otton is an unrestricted free agent, whether he stays or goes. We're going to give Tampa Bay a little bit of insulation here. Let's give him tight end Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon.
85, the Denver Broncos, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, I mean, we helped the Broncos out already with Omarion Hampton and Alec Maynor. So let's give them a defensive player here. Deion Walker I think he might be one of the better deals in the draft right now. Just a huge monster freak of an athlete, nose tackle. DJ Jones is there. Malcolm Roach is there. But Norman Lott played, Deion Walker played with a broken foot for a lot of last year where he lost some steam. I think this is a value for the Broncos at pick 85.
At 86, the Los Angeles Chargers and Pat Fitzmaurice.
Ty Robinson, defensive tackle, Nebraska. Defensive tackle is a pretty big need for the Chargers, and they haven't gotten one yet after a tight end running back start, so they get one here.
Debro, once again, you're back with the pack at 87.
My first pick for the Packers got flamed by Fitzmaurice, but I'm curious where Patty sits on this one. I know, Pat, you can attest, Lucas Finesse has not been it, man, considering what, draft capital and everything he has not paid off. They need help on the pass rush side. Let's give him Jordan Birch, edge out of Oregon.
Okay. You better with that one,
Yes.
Pat?
Yes,
okay?
solid.
That's acceptable.
Pat approved.
Okay. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars at 88. Scott Bogman, you're up.
Let's give him another Texas player, right? It's raining Longhorns here. Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver out of Texas, I think would fit nicely next to Brian Thomas and Parker Washington taking over that slot role this season. We've helped them out on defense, gave them their an offensive lineman. So let's get Trevor Lawrence another target here.
Only a few selections left. At 89, the Houston Texans. Pat Fitzmaurice, back to you.
Dylan Sampson, running back, Tennessee. I've heard the Texans have done some pre-draft work on the running back class. They could use a young understudy to Joe Mixon, and Sampson has some serious juice. His quickness and acceleration are really impressive.
All right. 90, the Rams. Derek Brown.
Well, the Rams, we got their future quarterback. Got to protect him. Rob Havenstein is not getting any younger, and he's an unrestricted free agent after 2025. Let's give him Emory Jones, offensive tackle out of LSU.
Scott Bogman, you've made every pick for the Ravens. At 91, you're back up again.
I got another Longhorn.
No, he's not out of Texas players.
I'm not out of Texas players. No way. Texas is great this year. Jaden Blue, the running back out of Texas. Speed. Not a lot of experience here, but Keaton Mitchell, unfortunately, tore his ACL last season, did not look like the same guy. I think Jaden Blue will serve the same purpose, can probably return some kicks and punts as well. But I just think bringing in a guy with this kind of juice late in the game after Derrick Henry has worn down defenses could be pretty dangerous.
Okay, Pat, to you for 92, Seattle.
Miles Frazier, guard, LSU. Somehow we have not given Seattle an interior offensive lineman yet, and as big as an area of need as that is for them, they got to make this pick here. Frazier's a mauler at guard.
New Orleans at 93. What do they need, Derek?
Well, Spencer Rattler is not the long-term issue or solution.
He's the
quarterback.
He's the short-term
issue. He's an issue.
I think he's the short-term
He's not
issue.
the solution at quarterback. Derek Carr isn't either. I'm not saying this is where I would go, but I do think New Orleans at some point will dip their feet into the quarterback bucket of this draft. So I'm going to give him Tyler Shuck, quarterback out of Louisville.
Okay. A lot of people like Shuck. We'll see if he lands in
Shuck
round
too.
3. 94, the Cleveland Browns. Scott Bogman.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give them Ollie Gordon, the running back out of OK State here. Down year last season, but a guy that can handle a big workload, lots of experience as well. And the Browns just have nothing at running back right now. Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong. That is what the roster is currently. So they need some help at this position. Ollie Gordon is a nice fit.
Pat, back to you at 95 for the Chiefs.
Noel Williams, cornerback, Cal. The Chiefs had some cornerback depth behind Trent McDuffie and Christian Fulton.
Okay. The Eagles at 96, Debro.
I know I already addressed it once, but look, you need two edges long term. I'm going to give him another one. Kyle Kennard, edge out of South Carolina. I mean, this is a bulletproof roster pretty much outside of it. I would have loved to have gone corner, but the corner market just dried up too fast for to go that direction here.
At 97, the Minnesota Vikings and Scott Bogman.
Yeah, I mean, no second round pick for them. So we're sitting here in the second round. I think nose tackle behind Harrison Phillips is kind of an issue. Obviously, they went out and got Javon Hargrave, who I think is great. They went and got Jonathan Allen. But let's give them Jordan Phillips, the big mauler out of Maryland, a pile pusher to really help that pass rush for a team that blitzes more than anybody.
Pat at 98, once again, Miami Dolphins.
Oh, you guys with your Texas and Georgia and Alabama prospects. Have you tapped into the William and Mary talent pool yet? Let's give the Dolphins Charles Grant, an offensive tackle. They take their second offensive lineman. They need to keep plowing draft capital into that unit.
That puts the Giants back at 99, D-Bro.
Speaking of teams that need offensive line help, the Giants, look at that. Anthony Belton, offensive tackle out of NC State. I mean, come on. You know Russ is going to hold the ball, whether it's him or Jameis Winston back there. They need help up front.
Here we go. Last 3 picks. 100, Bogman, San Francisco 49ers.
Let's give them Josiah Stewart, the edge rusher out of Michigan right now. Nick Bosa looks good. On the other side of him is Yetur Gross-Matos, who was not good last season. Drake Jaxson has not lived up to his second-round selection yet. They need help at edge rusher, and they need depth. So Josiah Stewart is a nice fit.
Pat at 101, the Rams.
Quincy Riley, cornerback, Louisville. Cornerback's a need for the Rams. Riley is one of the best available.
And at 102, the last pick of the 3rd round, Derek Brown, the Lions select.
I'm sneaking in one of my favorites here, but it also fits a need for the Lions. I'm going to give them wide receiver Elijah Badger out of Florida. If they don't pick up J-Mo's 5th-year option, he's gone after 2025, and they need an upgrade at wide receiver 3 anyway over Tim Patrick.
Well, there you have it. That's exactly how it's going to go on Thursday and Friday night. So
no
make
trades
sure,
at all.
No trades.
None.
No, every pick is correct. This is the part where you all run to the YouTube comments and tell us why every single one of these picks is perfect. I love that. It's my favorite part of this program. But don't forget, while you're there, dropping your comments, which we love. We love to have fun here, talk about these picks. Make sure you're also subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell till it goes ding for notifications. That way you don't forget to join us live Thursday and Friday at 7 Eastern. We're going to be ready starting the NFL draft right here on Fantasy Pros. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 300,000 this year, and I think we could do it with your help. Make us your second screen experience because we're breaking it all down from the fantasy point of view. What a record. I think this is it. Under 50 minutes for 3 rounds. I couldn't do it without my 3 favorite picks. They're all first rounders in my heart. Derek Brown, Pat Fitzmaurice, Scott Bogman. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. We'll see you next time, kids.